Talk about food safety in relation to animal welfare. And as I said before, animals are just around us, and science actually calls us animals. So we are animals that should have the mindfulness and we should be mindful about our other animals that we have in the universe to be able to take care of them. And of course, in this particular conversation, I'm joined by Dr. Patrick Muinde, who is a researcher and research manager at World Animal Protection, who is here to tell us exactly how to do that and to observe even these particular etiquettes, even as we seek to have a better environment and good vibes around us. Dr. Karibu sana to the conversation.
Thank you
and
so
thank
much.
you so much for joining us in the conversation tonight.
Thank you so much, Martin, for the invite. It's good to be here.
All right. Thank you. So I think we jump straight to the conversation. And we have two issues here, issues of food safety and animal welfare. Where is the connection? How do the two come together, in your view?
Thank you for that question. I think it would be good if I try to explain further what do you mean with animal welfare.
Okay.
And basically, it is the physical and mental state of an animal in relation to the conditions in which it lives in.
Mm-hmm.
And the key thing is recognizing animals as sentient beings, which have positive and negative experiences like we do humans. In terms of they're able to experience joy, they're able to recall, and they're able to fail. And that is important because how animals are treated at the moment, both the farmed animals and wild animals, they are treated like objects. And that's why we are coming in as World Animal Protection to ensure animals are given the good care that they deserve. When we talk about food safety, last week on 7th of June, we commemorated the World Food Safety Day, which is a day that we used to sensitize the public and government the importance of safe food. And basically, food safety is assurance that what you're going to eat will not harm your body in whichever the way. So the link comes in because whatever that you do to animals, whatever that you give animals, it comes back to you either through a food chain or indirectly when you get into contact with animals. I'm pretty sure maybe at some point you have visited farms and you have seen the kind of situation where the animals are kept, where farmers are not observing the proper hygiene, where animals are kept in overcrowded environments, where animals are caged, for example, battery cage systems for chicken. And basically those situations give animals improper conditions. They end up being stressed. And for example, when an animal is stressed, it gets prone to diseases, it can get infections, and that necessitates use of antibiotics. And that's where the food safety aspect is coming in, because when you misuse antibiotics in food production, there are going to be a number of consequences. For example, antibiotic residues, in which you have small elements of antibiotics in the products that you get from animal products. For example, when we don't observe the withdrawal period, the time that you should give an animal to clear the antibiotics from the system. So when that gets to the milk or meat and you consume it as human, you're exposed to small elements of antibiotics. And that is what leads to antibiotic resistance. I'm pretty sure you have heard of that term, which basically is antibiotics are not able to kill bacteria or pathogens that they used to kill before. Which is a big challenge at the moment, because currently, for example, the statistics are showing that up to 1.27 million people die every year because of infection that cannot be treated by antibiotics that we have at the moment. So those are the key elements of where food safety is coming in, and how we handle animal basically determines the final product that you are going to have. May it be meat, may it be egg, may it be milk.
All right. That's a proper introduction. Something that catches my attention is the caging part.
Yes.
Do you recommend that we let our chicken roam freely and our cows to graze in the fields?
Yes, exactly. Now you are getting the drift, you are getting the point.
Okay.
That's where we are coming in. Because, for example, if you see how chickens behave, they explore, they patch, they scratch, okay? And those are the kind of elements that you will not be able to provide when you're caging that bird. Okay, they need space where they can comfortably flap their wings. And if you compare the space of cage, I always use the example of A4 paper. That's the size where the birds are kept. So imagine a laying bird being kept in such kind of space for 18 months. They live for 18 months. So imagine in such an horrible space. So those conditions, they cause more harm to the animals because you are more centered to the product that you're getting from the bird's eggs. You're not seeing the well-being of that bird. You're not seeing the need of letting that bird be. So those are the key elements that you're talking about by treating animals as sentient beings, and not merely for food production or for profit making.
Amazing.
As much as you are using animals, let us do it humanly.
Okay.
Yes.
And you come from the World Animal Protection, and I have read a few things about you calling for humane and sustainable food systems. We've talked about the humane part. Let's talk about sustainability. What do you advocate for as far as this sustainability is concerned in managing our food systems?
Yes, sustainability is a keyword. And it comes to the discussion in food systems because the current situation that we are, and also the projections where we are going to be in the future. For example, the population is growing. We're having issues of climate change. There are so many things happening in different geographies. But how is our food system sustainable to feed us now and the future? So where the sustainability aspect is coming in. And the other key word that links to that is equity. There is a lot of inequality when it comes to food systems, when it comes to farming. For example, farmers, small-scale farmers who produce a majority of what we eat, up to 80%, are being phased out by big corporate entities which are taking over. And they're taking over, you see, in factory farming model, in which a high number of animals are kept in confined environments. And they are not considering some of the externalities such as environmental contamination that happens. So for the humane and sustainable aspect, we are keen for support of these small-scale farmers because they are proved to feed us for the longest time. And their practices are agroecological in nature. They are more protective when it comes to biodiversity. So that's where the sustainability aspect is coming in. And for that reason, that's why we are discouraging some aspects of animal farming, such as battery cage production systems.
You're very big on anti-caging the animals. And that's a good thing because I personally believe animals should be let to roam around freely. So as you continue to talk about this, away from caging, and you have really elaborated on caging as a human practice that really inhibits the quality of the animals that we later on affect us because we use them as food in the long run. So are there any other human activities that we have around that negatively affect this particular aspect of animal welfare, even in relation to food safety?
Yes, there are quite a number, and I'll give you a classical example that you can relate. What happens, for example, when you have spoiled maize, when it has aflatoxin? You don't consume it and you see, this one, let me give it to my cows, let me give it to my chicken. Yes, they'll feed it, but trust me, it's going to get back to you, that aflatoxin. And, aflatoxin in developing countries are one of the key causes of liver issues, for example, cancer. So the key thing is you see something, you're not able to eat it, then you see, anyway, I can hand it over to animals. The rule of thumb is if you have something that you're unable to eat as a person, the same reason that you're not able to eat that, the same reason that you should not give them the same thing to the animals. The other thing that connects to that, keeping animals in crowded conditions where their needs are not being met, and where the environment is such filthy that you will keep on having diseases in your farm, we're not observing biosecurity, that will lead for you to using antibiotics to cover up the poor animal welfare practices. So those are some of the key human activities that are driving having unsafe food from animals and going to the consumers.
If you cannot eat it, let not your animal eat that thing.
Yes, because it will come back to you through food value chain, basically. I give you an example of milk.
Yeah.
If you treat your cow with antibiotic, you don't observe the raw period, and you take that milk, you are taking the small amounts of antibiotics. Those antibiotics that you are taking will not be able to kill bacteria in your body. So you are giving that bacteria an opportunity to learn about that antibiotic and to mutate and become resistance. Yeah.
Speaking of milk, in the campaigns here and there and in climatic discussions, we see a term, just protein transition. What is this?
Yes, just protein. The keyword there is just because of the inequalities that have been associated. And basically, when you're talking about just protein transition, we are asking people to move towards equitable protein sources that are putting climate change at the center of it, being conscious of their choices of what you eat and how that is going to affect the climate. And in that just protein transition, there's an aspect how we can diversify our source of foods. For example, if you look at urban centers, there's more inclination towards consuming more of animal-sourced foods, for example, meat. I'm pretty sure when you go and meet your friends, it's about nyama choma, can you meet for nyama choma? That's the language in urban centers. But again, with that happening, we are not factoring in some of the lifestyle diseases that are associated with consumption with high consumption of animals sourced proteins. Of course, you understand in Africa, our consumption is quite low if you compare it with developed nations. For example, currently we consume around 14 kilograms per person in a year of meat. But in developed nations, you find it's as high as 120 kilograms in a year. But in urban centers, if you see Nairobi, Kisumu, Nakuru, and other cities in Africa, the consumption is quite high. So that's why we are bringing on board the nutritional aspect of our consumption of food, so that we can be considerate and try as much as we can to eat healthy foods, which basically brings on board some plant-based proteins like legumes, seeds, nuts, and those kind of things, so that as much as we are reducing meat consumption, we're also getting the required balanced diet through other sources of proteins. So that's where we mean with just protein transition. And also, if you're consuming meat, you try to ensure it's coming from high welfare farm, where animals are kept humanely, and where the focus is not about making profit, but it's having the animal sentience aspect at the start of the production and through the production cycle.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you very much for that. Now we have 2 minutes left. I want us to bring the conversation to a close.
Yes.
What do you see as the future of wild animal protection and what you do? What measures are you putting up in place that we should get ready for to ensure that we ensure food safety as a community?
Yes. Basically, our mission is moving the world to protect animals. And when I say we, it's not only us as animal protection. It's us with other key stakeholders, such as yourself, media, governments, and other civil society organizations. Because we believe there's no future in seeing animal cruelty and suffering still continuing until we are here. So we are running a couple of campaigns that are calling for protection of animals, both farmed animals and wildlife. We are bringing on board the food systems conversation into climate change. Because a lot of focus has been on energy, fossil fuels, and all that when it comes to climate change. So I'll bring that discussion to show that as much as we are working to achieve some of the targets that we set, food systems has to be part of that discussion. And we are calling governments, African governments, to support small-scale farmers because they do practice agroecological models. Because you see how small-scale farmers, they whatever that comes from their farms is used inside the farm, and input is more localized, and output is also more localized. So those are the kind of system that you're asking government to support.
Yeah.
And also the general public, we're asking them to join us in this conversation, because protecting animals cannot be done by one organization. It needs all of us to come together and mobilize and ensure our advocacy work is put forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
30 seconds. I want to add 30 more seconds.
Yes.
If anyone wants to work with you, what is the qualification and how can they get in touch with you?
Basically, I can say there's no qualification so long as we are talking in animals, because everyone interacts with animals. So we're asking everyone on board to come and join us. We have a lot of content in our social media platforms. You can visit us there in Facebook as World Animal Protection Africa. You can visit us in X at Move the World AF, and also in Instagram. So we try as much as we can to get knowledge from all over.
Yeah.
Because I believe when you bring idea 1, idea 2, idea 3, it becomes a big idea that is easily to be bought by everyone.
Yeah.
Yes.
What about employment? What people qualify to work in your space? People who have studied what?
No, it's quite diverse. Protection of animals is quite diverse.
It's multidisciplinary, yeah?
Yes. Okay. You can see it's multidisciplinary because we have policymakers in our organization. We have people from comms. We have researchers.
Yeah.
We have content creators. We have people in digital media.
Okay.
So basically, I can say it cuts across, because there are so many dimensions in which you can approach to solve animal welfare issues.
All right.
Because again, as you imagine, animal issues, they are quite diverse, they are quite big.
All right.
And currently, we need innovation in all what you do. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Patrick Muinde, for joining us tonight and giving us an insight on food safety in relation to animal protection and animal welfare. Thank you so much for being here.